My stepbrother John crossed every line at my graduation party total. I never saw coming. Family chaos erupted fast. I never thought a graduation party could turn into a nightmare, but here I am, sitting in my room after everyone left, trying to process the chaos. My name's Alex, 22, and this was supposed to be my big day, the culmination of 4 years of late nights, term papers, and coffee-fueled all-nighters. My parents promised me a small, classy celebration at our backyard in the suburbs, and honestly, I was just excited to have everyone I cared about in one place. Everything seemed fine at first. Mom had the garden decorated with fairy lights, Dad was grilling burgers, and my friends from college were mingling with the family. Then there's John, my stepbrother, who's 29, and usually keeps to himself unless he's trying to stir something up. At first, I didn't pay much attention. He was chatting with Aunt Lisa and Uncle Mark, laughing a bit too loudly, sipping beer like here in the place. The first red flag came when he wandered into the drinks table near my friends. I remember clearly my friend Mia was getting a soda, and John suddenly leaned over and whispered something in a way that made her flush. I brushed it off. Maybe he was just being awkward. But then I noticed him hovering near my little cousin, Lily, who's 16. He was joking around, a hand on her shoulder that lingered a second too long. I went over and said, "Hey, man, give her some space," and he just grinned and muttered, "Relax, it's fine." Something about that grin didn't sit right. As the night progressed, I started noticing more weird interactions. He'd disappear for a few minutes and come back with a mischievous smirk, and every time I confronted him or tried to pull him aside, he played dumb. My mom, always the peacemaker, laughed off my concerns, saying I was overreacting and his family, Alex. But my gut screamed otherwise. The real escalation happened during the cake cutting. I was up on the little platform Dad had set for photos. Everyone was taking pictures, when suddenly, John came up behind me, whispered something in my ear that made my stomach drop, and before I could react, he leaned in and kissed me. I froze. People gasped. My friends froze. Mom clapped her hands nervously, unsure what to say, and Dad's face went red. It was like time slowed down. I wanted to push him, scream, call him out right there, but the shock paralyzed me. Mia pulled back, looking mortified, and I just stepped back, my hands shaking. That's when I realized this wasn't just some boundary-crossing flirtation, this was a full-on betrayal. John, my stepbrother, had just crossed the line in front of everyone I cared about, and somehow, he seemed proud of it. At that moment, I knew the night was spiraling, and the aftermath was going to be brutal. But I had no idea just how far the chaos would go. I stepped off the little platform, my hands still trembling. The crowd was frozen, like they didn't know whether to gasp, laugh nervously, or step in. Mia stood a few feet away, her face red not from embarrassment exactly, but from a mix of shock and anger. I could see the hurt in her eyes, and part of me wanted to just disappear into the backyard garden and cry. "John?" I shouted, trying to keep my voice steady even though my chest was pounding. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" He turned slowly, a smug little smirk still plastered across his face. "Relax, Alex, it's just a kiss, she's cool with it," he said, shrugging like it was nothing. I felt like my brain short-circuited. "She's not cool with it, you have zero right to do that, this isn't just your party, it's mine." Mom hurried over, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Alex, calm down, he didn't mean." "No, Mom, don't," I snapped, finally breaking. "Don't act like this is normal. He'd just crossed every line you could possibly imagine." Uncle Mark stepped in, looking stern. "John, man, what the hell were you thinking?" John just laughed, leaning against the railing like key on the night. "Honestly, I was bored. Parties are boring. Everyone's so serious. I just wanted to liven things up." I stared at him, my jaw tight. "You call that livening things up? Publicly humiliating my friend in front of my entire family? That's insane." Mia finally spoke up, her voice trembling. "Alex, I'm fine. It's not your fault," she said, though I could see she was trying to hold back tears. "Not my fault." I shouted, anger mixing with disbelief. "John chose to betray me, on my graduation day. How is that not my fault somehow?" Dad, who had been silent until now, finally stepped forward, his face pale. "Enough, both of you. Let's just cool down, okay? This is turning into a scene." But there was no cooling down. I could feel my blood boiling. How could he do this? How could John, someone who should have been family, someone I grew up tolerating and sometimes even liking, act like this? The betrayal felt like a punch straight to the chest. I stormed off toward the side of the yard, trying to escape the awkward stares and murmurs. Behind me, I could hear whispers. Did John really just do that? Wow, Alex's stepbrother is insane. And the worst, is this a joke? I didn't want to deal with anyone. I didn't want to deal with John. But I knew I had to. He couldn't just get away with this. I had to confront him one-on-one, away from the crowd, where I could make him understand just how far he'd gone and maybe, just maybe, make him feel even an ounce of the humiliation he'd caused me. I found him near the garage, leaning against his car like nothing had happened. My fist clenched. "We need to talk now." He smirked, clearly enjoying my fury. "Oh, we're talking. Don't worry, I love a good heart-to-heart." And that's when I realized this was about to get ugly. The garage smelled like motor oil and old tires, but right now, it might as well have been the battleground of my life. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself before I stepped closer to John. He was leaning casually against his car, arms crossed, smirk still there, like he was daring me to explode. "John," I started, my voice low but shaking. "Do you have any idea what you just did? This wasn't some joke. This was my graduation day, my friends, my family, and you just crossed every line possible." He raised an eyebrow. "Crossed every line? Come on, Alex, it's not like I did anything illegal. Lighten up." I wanted to punch him, I won't lie. My fists were itching, my anger radiating off me in waves. Not illegal doesn't even come close to describing betrayal. You humiliated me, my friends, and even Mom and Dad. Everyone was watching. Do you have any idea how that feels? John shrugged again, that infuriating grin still on his face. "You're way too uptight, man." Everyone else was laughing. "Relax, you need to learn not to take life so seriously." I froze. Laughing? Did he seriously think what he did was funny? Laughing? You mean watching my friend get disrespected while you stood there smirking? That's your idea of a joke? At that, his grin faltered slightly, replaced by a flash of annoyance. "No, come on, Alex, you're blowing this way out of proportion." She barely reacted. "Honestly, you're acting like a child." My chest tightened. A child? After everything he'd done? I stepped closer, face inches from his. "John, you don't get it. This isn't about her reaction. It's about you thinking it's okay to cross boundaries, mine, hers, everyone's. They're supposed to be family. Family doesn't do this. Family protects, respects, and cares, not this." He let out a short, bitter laugh. "Family? Huh, maybe I'm not your idea of family. Maybe I'm just the guy who gets in the way of your perfect little life." I recoiled, stunned. He actually said it out loud. My stepbrother, the person who had always acted slightly antagonistic but tolerable, just admitted that he enjoyed being the thorn in my side. And worse, he didn't care about the consequences. I could feel my hands trembling, a mix of rage and heartbreak. You're sick, John. You don't even realize the damage you do you? He looked away for a moment, and I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd feel a shred of guilt. But then he smiled, a small, twisted smile. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Doesn't matter, you're still here, and that's the fun part. I stepped back, feeling my blood run cold. That was it. The betrayal wasn't just a kiss of party, it was a declaration. He didn't care about me, my boundaries, or my family. He enjoyed breaking trust. I turned and stormed back toward the house, heart racing. I didn't know how to handle this yet, but one thing was certain: I couldn't let John ruin everything else tonight. I needed a plan, and I needed backup. I grabbed Mira and whispered what had happened, her eyes widening in disbelief. Then I spotted my cousin, Rachel, who was already eyeing John suspiciously. He's up to something, she said quietly. We need to stop him before he does more. And just like that, I realized the night wasn't over, it had only just begun. I marched back into the backyard, Mira and Rachel flanking me, determined to confront John publicly this time. The party had quieted down a bit after the Kate incident, with people whispering in corners and awkwardly trying to salvage the mood. But I didn't care about social niceties anymore. This was about boundaries, respect, and stopping John before he caused more chaos. I spotted him by the drinks table, laughing a little too loudly with my cousin Tom, who clearly didn't know the full story. I could feel my blood boil. John? I barked, and the laughter stopped instantly. People turned, sensing the tension spike again. He looked at me, eyebrows raised, smirk still in place. You again. Calm down, Alex, you're embarrassing yourself. Embarrassing myself? I shouted, pointing at him. You're the one who humiliated everyone tonight. You kissed me or flirted with my little cousin, and think it's all a joke. Mia stepped forward, her voice stronger than I'd ever heard. He's right, John, this is not okay. You need to leave now. John scoffed. Oh, come on, Mia, don't act like you're offended. You barely reacted earlier. Lighten up. I felt my fist clench at his arrogance. Barely reacted? Are you kidding me? You don't get to decide what's okay for everyone else. You're supposed to be family. John, you're supposed to respect us, not use us for your entertainment. Mom came rushing over, trying to mediate. Alex, please, calm down. John, we need to talk. No, Mom, I cut her off. I'm done letting him get away with this. Everyone sees what he's doing. We're not going to ignore it. Uncle Mark stepped up too, his voice booming. John, this has gone far enough. You need to explain yourself, or you leave now. For a moment, John looked like he was weighing his options. Then, in true John fashion, he laughed short, bitter, almost like a challenge. Explain myself, fine. You all need to understand that I do what I want. I don't follow your rules. I'm not part of your little prophet family. If that's shocking to you, well, welcome to reality. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Tom's jaw dropped. Mom's face was pale, and Dad's hand shook slightly as he rubbed his temples. I felt a cold knot of anger in my stomach. Rachel stepped forward, glaring at him. John, that's not just crossing a line, that's disrespect, and we're not going to let you treat our family like this. John shrugged. Fine, if you all want me to leave, I'll leave, but don't act like you're innocent either. Everyone here has secrets, and I know them all. My heart sank. I realized his fun wasn't just about flirting or pushing boundaries. He was using leverage, manipulation, and knowledge of family weaknesses to assert control. That's when I knew the betrayal went deeper than a kiss or a smirk. It was calculated. I took a deep breath, looking around at my friends and family who had rallied behind me. Then leave, John, leave before you destroy anything else, and know this, we're not afraid of you. For the first time, I saw hesitation flicker across his face. He glanced at the crowd, realizing that maybe, just maybe, his audience wasn't cheering for him anymore. He straightened, smirk fading slightly, and muttered, Fine, this isn't over. And with that, he stormed off the backyard, leaving a stunned, uneasy silence in his wake. The backyard felt empty, but heavy. John was gone, storming off like he always did when confronted, but the tension he left behind was suffocating. Guests were whispering, some trying to laugh it off, others exchanging worried glances. May clutched my arm, her face pale. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, she whispered. I shook my head, trying to calm down. It's not your fault. He's the one who crossed every line imaginable. Mom wandered over, her hands wringing nervously. Alex, I didn't realize it would go this far. I just thought maybe he was trying to joke around. I looked at her, frustration bubbling. Mom, joke around. He kissed me in front of everyone. He made inappropriate comments to Lily and he enjoyed it. That's not a joke, that's a betrayal. Dad finally spoke, voice low and strained. We need to address this. John's behaviour is unacceptable, and it's clear he doesn't see the boundaries we try to uphold. I nodded, feeling a sense of relief that at least Dad understood. Exactly, but it's more than boundaries, it's trust. He violated trust in front of everyone, and he doesn't even care. Rachel chimed in, frowning. He thrives on chaos. He loves watching people react to his manipulations. He's done it before, but now it's public. He's escalating. My stomach sank. She was right. This wasn't just a one-time mistake, this was a pattern. I thought about all the small annoyances over the years, John subtly undermining my achievements, making snide remarks to my friends, always trying to provoke reactions. And now, he had gone full-blown. I decided I had to protect everyone else. I pulled me aside again. Listen, we're going to keep an eye on him for the rest of the night. If he tries anything else, we stop it immediately. No more surprises. She nodded, gratitude and concern in her eyes. I don't even know why he's like this, it's so twisted. We spent the next hour trying to salvage what was left of the party. Conversations were tense, laughter forced, and every time someone approached the drinks table, I tensed, scanning for John. By some miracle, he didn't return that night. After most of the guests left, Mom pulled me aside. Alex, we need to have a serious conversation about John, about boundaries, about what's acceptable. I sighed, relief mixed with lingering anger. I know, Mom, it's not just tonight, it's everything. He can't keep doing this, or he's not welcome in our family events. Dad nodded in agreement. We'll talk to him tomorrow, calmly, firmly. No more chaos. He needs to understand the consequences of his actions. As I looked around the backyard, upturned chairs, a few scattered balloons, the cake half eaten, I felt a strange mix of exhaustion and clarity. The betrayal stung, but it also revealed something important. Boundaries are non-negotiable, and family doesn't get a free pass to hurt you. Mia squeezed my hand. You did the right thing tonight, Alex. You stood up for yourself. I nodded, finally letting a small breath out. The night had been a disaster, yes, but I survived it. And somehow, surviving John's shocking betrayal made me feel stronger than ever. The next day, the tension in the house was palpable. John was sulking in the living room, scrolling aimlessly on his phone, like nothing had happened. Mom and Dad exchanged worried glances, and I could feel my jaw tightening with every second. It was time, no more running from the confrontation. "Hey John," Dad called firmly, "we need to talk, now." He looked up, annoyed, like this was an inconvenience. "About what?" he muttered. "About last night," Mom said, her voice calm but unwavering. "Your behaviour was unacceptable. You crossed boundaries, humiliated others, and showed no respect for your family. We need to address it, and it ends here." I stepped closer, feeling a mix of anger and determination. "John, what you did yesterday was a betrayal. You didn't just kiss me, you flirted with my little cousin, tried to manipulate others, and acted like none of it mattered. That's not okay, and it won't be tolerated." He let out a short laugh. "Wow, dramatic much? You're acting like I... Come on. It was one night, one little mess up. Everyone's blown way out of proportion." Mia, who had joined us for support, crossed her arms. "One little mess up. You humiliated me in front of my friends and our family. You made people uncomfortable. That's not a mess up, John, that's a choice." Rachel, always direct, stepped forward. "John, this isn't just about last night. It's about every time you've crossed the line, undermined someone, or pushed boundaries. You can't keep doing this. You need to understand that trust is earned, and you've broken it." For a moment, John's smirk faltered. I saw a flicker of guilt or maybe fear behind his eyes. But then he tried to mask it with sarcasm. "So what, you're kicking me out of the family? You all act like I'm a criminal." Dad's voice was calm but firm. "No, John, you're still family, but family doesn't get a free pass to hurt others. You need to make amends, respect boundaries, and prove you can behave like part of this family. If you don't, there will be consequences, simple as that." John looked around the room, realizing for the first time that the audience wasn't cheering for him anymore. Mom's face was serious. Mia's arms crossed tightly, Rachel's glare sharp. Even I stood tall, unyielding. Finally, he sighed, shoulders slumping. "Fine, I get it. I messed up. I'll try to fix it." I didn't trust him fully, but hearing him admit it, even partially, felt like a small victory. Trying isn't enough, John. You have to prove it. Start by respecting people, their boundaries, and their trust. That's how you rebuild anything. He nodded, silent this time. The tension in the room didn't vanish, but there was a fragile understanding forming a possibility of accountability. It wasn't perfect, and it probably wouldn't be easy, but it was a start. As the day went on, we tried to pick up the pieces of the party, laughing nervously with friends who had returned to help clean up. The betrayal still stung, but for the first time, I felt a sense of control, like we could face John and his chaos together, as a family. Some betrayals leave scars that never fully heal. But setting boundaries, demanding respect, and confronting the problem head-on, that's how you survive and maybe, eventually, rebuild trust. By the end of that week, the tension in our house had eased slightly, but the memory of John's actions lingered like a shadow. Graduation had passed, but the emotional fallout was still very real. I found myself thinking about the party constantly, how quickly a celebration turned into chaos, how trust could be shattered in a single moment, and how someone you considered family could betray you so completely. John had tried to act normal, but it was clear he knew the walls had gone up. Mom kept a careful eye on him. Dad was quietly enforcing boundaries, and even Rachel and me remained cautious around him. It was awkward, yes, but there was a new sense of clarity in the house. Everyone knew where the lines were, and John had no choice but to respect them or face real consequences. One afternoon, I caught John in the kitchen, pretending to clean up a few dishes. I took a deep breath and decided to speak honestly, without the heat of confrontation. "John," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I want to move forward, but I need you to understand something. Trust isn't automatic. You have to earn it. One mistake doesn't define you, but repeated behavior will define how we treat you." He glanced up, expression unreadable for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. "I get it, Alex. I really do. I don't want to push you away completely. I'll try to do better." I studied him, noticing a flicker of sincerity behind the usual smugness. "Trying isn't enough," I said, "but it's a start. Actions matter more than words." He didn't argue. He just nodded again, and for the first time, I felt a sliver of hope that he might actually respect the boundaries we'd set. It wasn't forgiveness, yet it wasn't even trust, but it was recognition. Recognition that what he did was wrong and that the family wouldn't tolerate it. Later, I sat down with Mira and Rachel, reflecting on the chaos of the graduation party. "I never thought my stepbrother could shock me this much," I admitted, shaking my head. Mia smiled weakly, her hand resting on mine. "I was shocked too, but you handled it. You stood up for yourself and for everyone else. That's what matters." Rachel nodded. "Boundaries saved you all. John might test them again, but now we know what's acceptable and what isn't. That's the real victory here." I sighed, leaning back and looking at the empty backyard from the previous night. Fairy lights still twinkled faintly, remnants of what was supposed to be a joyful celebration. Despite the betrayal, I realized that the night had taught me something invaluable. Family isn't just about shared blood or living under the same roof. It's about respect, trust, and accountability. And if someone crosses those lines, they have to face the consequences, no excuses. John had betrayed me, yes, but he also forced a reckoning that the family needed. We had confronted him, demanded accountability, and set clear boundaries. It wouldn't erase the memory, but it would shape the future. And as I finally allowed myself to exhale, I knew one thing for sure. Betrayal might sting, but standing up for yourself, that's what truly matters.